up tall, we break the walls. Train it up, train it high. Next gen reaching for the sky. Push the limit, don't ask why. This is how we're born to fly.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back, I should say, to another edition of Next Gen Training. We took a couple weeks off to kind of regroup and refresh, and certainly it's good to be with you guys once again here on the Sparta HQ Network. Certainly my name is Mr. Bennett, and I am pleased to welcome back, certainly after a very successful, in my view, a very successful coaching stint. We have back with us tonight the coach, back from a very an educational season, a season of learning, a season of patience, basically employing a lot of what we try to convey on this show. And so certainly appreciate having him back on board with us for the time being. You never know. I mean, obviously he puts his name back in the hat, so I know all the people are reaching out to him, trying to get him for the next gig. But it's certainly good to have him here with us tonight. So, Coach, just real quick before we get into the intros, how are you doing, sir? What's going on with you?
I'm here, man. It's 2026. That's all I can say, man. I'm here, man. And I'll say this real quick. The Dolphins reached out to me today, so yeah.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah,
you
need
gonna
somebody.
be
Everyone's Atlanta. Everyone needs a coach now. The
you gonna
Raiders,
be the
they're gonna
strength
need that.
coach. I'm gonna hire you as a strength coach. You could have tell the wife you're moving down to Florida, and that's where y'all go
I
retire.
don't think she'd mind that too much. I don't think she'd mind that too much. Vegas too. I'll move to Vegas also. But again, we appreciate you guys being here with us tonight. Just make sure when you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button. It certainly helps the algorithm, and consider becoming a subscriber. Certainly to the Sparta HQ Network, we have shows throughout the week that hopefully you'll find a place and an interest to hang out with us. But we appreciate any support that you may give us. Just before we get started tonight, just some rules again for the chat. Again, we appreciate opinions in the chat. But as we always like to start the show with, again, no personal attacks, insults, or threats. Avoid offensive language except for the owner of the channel, but that's another story. But including slurs based on race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation, be courteous and polite to other viewers, and again, particularly for those in the chat. So again, we just want to keep this an engaging place for certainly to voice your opinions, but as always, keep it respectful. Certainly in these places. So again, good to get back on grind here, and it's kind of apropos that we have the coach, certainly in the building tonight because we're going to be talking. Basically, I'm looking to start the year out with three shows, possibly two to possibly three shows, dealing with the concept of coaching and our approaches to our methods of coaching or training for that matter. Because one of the things I learned, there's a difference between those vocations, and so certainly having a proper understanding, especially for those, because you might be thinking, okay, I need a coach, I need a mentor, I need a trainer, I need a consultant. What are some of the differences between those? So we're gonna start off with kind of talking about some of those things, some of those concepts of coaching, and then we'll get more specific. We'll probably focus on sports coaching, and then our own personal coaching philosophies when it comes to coaching, to discipline, and things of that nature. So I'm certainly looking forward to this series up. But our purpose also is to create content that you can share. Take this content that we're giving you and share it with a parent, share it with somebody who is looking for the right mentorship or coaching or what have you, and see if these videos that we have that they can help them in certainly in their pursuits of what they're doing. And so so we encourage you to definitely share the information. And and always we have a new, again, we started promoting this last year. We really want to hype it up and promote it this year. Our website, our email address, next gen training 101 at gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, because again, I'm the type of person, I don't like to keep talking. I'll talk for a minute, but then I want to listen. I want to take input, which is also an important part of coaching. To take input from people, and look to create content based on your questions. So this is an opportunity for you to reach out to us, nextgentraining101 at gmail.com, and submit your questions, and we will have shows where we raise your question. Just give your name and where you're from, and you don't have to give too many details, but name and where you're from is fine. First name and where you're from is fine, and we'll entertain the question on the show. And again, we want to create a place where we can have content that is shareable. So again, share what we're doing here, and we'll keep this thing going. But also, before we get into this, again, I want to do it proper. As we always start out our shows, we ask people who are in the chat, how are your pies doing? Your physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual health. How are you doing on all of those different factors? Because all those are essential to our lives, and certainly want to make sure that that you take care of those things. That those are things that are important, and one thing out of balance can lead to a lot of different issues. So, Coach, I'll start with you again, especially coming off the season, looking at the new year. How are your pies doing?
Brother Bennett, man, I don't even know if I can start in order, but I can give you a little bit of all, right? Mentally, I mean, see, look, that goes to show I'm already off, right?
Mm.
But, physically, my body falling apart, whether I wanted to or not.
Mm.
I've had some MRIs. I've got my spine is narrowing. I have some arthritis up in my shoulders, and now it's in my hands. I get numbness in my hands. I haven't lost all strength, but it ain't. Yeah, my football is turning into just sideline coaching.
Yeah.
And I can feel it in my body. It's been through a lot, and that's affecting me now. All this happened, especially during the season. So I was going, I'm just going through the back end. It was just a lot. Then my wife, she was getting her stuff together on her side, and we're glad that the year is over. Physically, and we're still gonna. That's why I said my pies is sort of. It's in the battle right now because I haven't been able to. I know what they are as far as one are specific thing in each. It's hard to say, but spiritually, I stay connected. I stay grounded to the Most High. And I follow that spirit everywhere I go. I've been able to go places no weapon, unarmed, bared, the roughest, the toughest, and come out scot clean. So
Right.
I'm not afraid of like earthly living. I embrace that this
Yeah.
life. I've been to places people wish, and looking back on it now, you know what I'm saying. I appreciate going through that. So my emotions and my spirituality specific, man. I don't, yeah, it stays grounded, man. It's gotten better since I've gotten married. So I'll say that.
Oh yeah.
But
100%.
um, man, let me see. Intellectually, man, just focusing on the world. Understanding. I've been understanding the world for a long time since I went to Mecca and Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So it's just I don't know people trying to do certain things that they want to do and find a niche. I'm a working class. We're a working class, so
Mhm.
right now we out of the way. We just taking care of business and making sure our resources are solidified, and
Right.
things like that. And, just I'm gonna move as the world move.
Mhm.
That's how I've been always looking at it. My wife, she's 100%, understanding and focused. So if the world say move and shift, I'm gonna be able to do that.
Mhm.
People, y'all, some of y'all become some of my friends on YouTube. As far as physical friends, my circle runs small. And it just has because and it's funny because I can see how it affects them than me because I've seen other parts of just black folk,
Mhm.
white folk, a
Mhm.
certain race. I've
Mhm.
seen the world, and
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
like, why are they denying they fake? I don't know, they blessing. But
Yeah.
I'll say this and I'll shut up, man. I went to the school. We took pictures today, man, and all the girls wanted to hug me. Everybody was. I was like, man, we
Mhm.
took some little team pictures. The girls that came, like they little fifth, sixth grade.
Mhm.
They wanted to talk to me. Everybody was pulling on me. Just so it was cool, man. We're gonna probably get some pictures. They're gonna be done by next week. So, but yeah, man, it was a good day, man. I hang out with the old coach, and you know, I don't know, man. I'm settling around down, man. 57, going on 58, man. This is looking quite good. My body ain't the best, but
Mhm.
my living and my just blessings and my anointing to just help people is solid, man.
Now I hear you. Yeah.
Solid. So,
Now I got you. Now I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, physically, in a pretty good space. It's just staying consistent. I don't know any other way. Even my wife and I, we got out of Dodge for a few days after Christmas, and just spent some time in a hotel and did absolutely nothing. And but we did go to the gym every morning, got our physical fitness in, and so we still appreciate that. And intellectually, again, still growing every day. Emotionally, I'm in a good place, just trying to be the consistent man that I need to be, especially for my daughters. There's a lot of emotional energy here, and so me trying to maintain calm, reason, rational thought process for my daughters is important. Making sure my daughter, who went back to medical school, and she even got a blessing. It's weird how we say God provides, because she was supposed to go, and obviously we heard last week with the strikes to Venezuela and all that kind of stuff went on. A lot of flights in the Caribbean got canceled, and everything up through Wednesday morning was everything was on booked. But what happened when she got into Miami? They had overbooked her flight again because of the cancellations, and so they were offering people say, look, if you can fly it on Saturday, if you're not in an urgent need to get into the country, if you're wait till Saturday, we'll hook you up. And my daughter, she doesn't have to be there for like another week and a half.
oh, she good.
So they gave her free hotel, they gave her food, free food, and $3,300 flight voucher. So
Voucher.
her last couple trips coming back and forth, she ain't got to pay. So I'm just saying, God provides. So it is a blessing, and just things like that. When those things happen, it just makes it just confirms that you're in a good place spiritually, that you're at a good place with God, And so those are things that really just buoy me up. And I agree with you as far as the coaching. I had some guys over tonight sold me on a new phone plan today. I'm switching companies, and so they came in, but these were young guys. I mean, but that coaching that I did, that you want to inspire, you want to mentor, you want to teach, because they were looking at me and saying, hey, the first guy was like, you play basketball. The other guy was like, hey, you're football, whatever. And just looking at my build and my look and how I carry myself. And then I got a chance to talk to him about training, a little bit about and just life perspective about eating, and just just things that have been on my mind and I've been talking about in these spaces. It just naturally came out, and they were attentive to listening. So, again, it just happened again. I mean, they're selling to me, but I'm kind of mentoring them and coaching them kind of at the same time. They seem to both appreciate it. So yeah, so I think that's just naturally our calling, to teach and to lead and to guide people in the ways that we do it. And so that's why it's just I feel blessed to have the health and the wellness and the desire to want to give back, especially to young men. These guys, both these guys in their early 20s, and but certainly it was a pleasure just servicing them as they were trying to service me. You got me on this new plane, got some probably extra money out of me, but certainly I think I'm in a better place because of that. And no, but outside of that, let's get into this thing. So so again, we're gonna start these shows on coaching, but let's talk about coaching a little bit. So let's start with, me, I'm always about definitions. Up, I think I lost my. All right, so it's gonna take me a minute to load this up, because I wanted to just take it off the screen, but I think I deleted it. So now I'm bringing it back up. But let's talk about this idea of coaching. What is coaching? And the differences oftentimes between there's coaching, there's training, there's consulting. There's all different ways you can look at this. Like I said earlier, the next in training, make sure you're sending questions there. But just the definition of a coach. Um, One who inspires dreams and motivates you to achieve them, a person who builds up your character through potential, uh, 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 character and potential through belief and encouragement, and someone who touches your life forever. Now, Coach, I know that it's interesting you shared that story earlier about early in the year, and you lost your voice because you're screaming at these girls and parents and just everything there, and just dealing with the difficult kids. But just at the end, when you were taking the pictures, all these girls wanted to kind of come up and hug you. At the end, it may not have felt at certain times that it was worthwhile, or sometimes you may think you're giving something, and are they really listening? Are you making an impact? But it definitely seemed like at the end of the season, it seems like they appreciated where you were coming from, whether you yelled at them or got on them about something, but you were present and you cared. And I think that was reflective in their wanting to give you hugs and all those kind of things. So, but your thoughts on what a coach is, and whether it be in a sports capacity or just coach in general, just based on these definitions here that we're seeing.
Mm, It's something, I have to always compartmentalize it, right?
Mhm.
Because, like you said, depending on the setting, depending on the activity that's being taught, or this individuals are learning. So, like, even in my life skills, you catch people in a sunken place, or a lot of people, when they come to life skills, they're in a sunken place, and they've given up on themselves. And so you sort of have to come down to their level and not use all your educated words. And I'm being facetious, and funny
Mhm.
when I say it. You can't
Mhm.
be too intellectual, and you can't be too standoffish,
Yeah.
because especially when you're dealing with young men and young women, I understand that they're going to be emotional. I understand that.
Mhm.
And you sort of have to talk through the big issue. What is put them in that space? What is it? We can get to your feelings, but what incident put you here? So you have to sort of, because they are doing some good things despite what's happening to them. A lot of young people still doing good stuff,
Right.
and it's to have to balance. Say, hey, you already have something to offer. this thing that's hurting you, that's what we address and try to eliminate it. And it could be people doing it to them. It could be, and when I say it's typically, it can be self-inflicted, thinking that it's not good enough, not less than, because what they may have not gotten. Especially, I learned a lot about this when I was doing groups. I was doing groups with 6th grade through 12th grade
Mhm.
for like 7, 8 years in Chicago, and I've had groups of 60, brother. I'm talking about 2 times a week, 2 times a day. I had to go talk to 18 to 24-year-old felons from the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
60 in each group. It was like 62 in the first group, and we sitting in a room not no bigger than, I don't know, it was not a big building at all. It was a church, a small church down in their basement. They would
Mhm.
serve lunch, and they would get credits for their sentencing by going through this program, and they would work a little bit, and some could get jobs. And it's almost like you would get your case dismissed and dropped
Mhm.
if you went through it. It wasn't nothing about 6 weeks, chill.
Right.
And then in the afternoon, I had another, it was about 200 of them. So we split them up into like 3 groups. And between that time and going through the school year, had 75 every year, all boys.
Yeah.
Going through 8th grade. I had 6th through 8th grade, and then I worked 5 years in the high school. Well, 10 years in high school. I had 9 through 12, male and female, and that coaching, when you tap into that emotional coaching, tap
Mhm.
into the issue early, reinforce the good that they have, and it's fine. Sports coaching, it's like, Brother Bennett, so let me ask you this. Did you ever play football or basketball on a team?
Yes.
Basketball?
Basketball, football, track. Yeah.
Okay, so you understand basketball positioning,
Yes.
footwork, things like
Yes.
that, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the other part of sports coaching, especially when you have younger people. The basics is the most important thing. And sometimes you got to balance both, because some are emotional, but the skill craft has to still be learned
Yeah.
through the team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I just took that understanding along with some of my military, because the military just reinforced the needed structure despite the group's feelings that, it has to be a collective, because I've always coached teams.
Yeah.
And the message is collective. There's no one superstar. It's learning the information, learning the plays, and it goes hand in hand. I mean, so put that back up real quick.
Pull back. What do you
Just,
need? The definition?
yes, put it back up real quick.
Sure thing.
Okay, see, now a person who builds character and potential through belief and encouragement. That's the ticket right there. And there's some of the most common character values that people use is accountability. And that was something that has to be sort of really dug into, as far as learning that if you do something, if you ask me for some money and I don't give it back, I have to be accountable. If you decide to do something. And then there's the next one, integrity. My integrity say, if I buy some money from you, I will give it back to you when you ask.
Mhm.
Boom. So you have to, and those two are difficult. And I use, instead of, I love to use positive anger expression.
Mhm.
You can't say nobody's going to get angry. You're going to get angry. It's how you release that anger.
Yeah.
And part of that, punching bags, kickboxing, running, push-ups, some form of physical, reading, writing,
Mhm.
all of those things. And And what is their belief? Do they have a positive belief? Because if they have a negative belief, then you have to find a way to tap into that so they can flip the script and say, okay, they now have a positive belief based off uh, the encouragement of the little things that they do.
Hmm.
And someone touches your life forever. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, this is something I reflect on now,
Yeah.
like the students and young men and young women whose lives I can touch forever. And I told them they my reward comes as they become positive, productive adults in the
Mhm.
world. So
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Yeah, and it's interesting you talked about integrity. Giving money back when you ask. I take it a step further. Is giving money back without asking. You know what I mean? It's like
there
it's
you
what
go.
you do. It's what you do. I don't have to be motivated to do the right thing,
Yeah,
or be reminded when if I give my word on something, then I honor that, or even succeeded. I give even before I said I was going to do it. So I always like to put that additional caveat on it. But I wanted to kind of start doing a little distinction between again coaching and training. Now I would consider myself more so a trainer than a coach. So again, I've seldom coached like organized sports. I've done a lot more one-on-one when it comes to the training, and so I wanted to just to talk a little bit about the distinctions between the two. So I have another slide here: the difference between coaching someone in training, and I can certainly just from what you typically have done, certainly especially this last year with students, was what I do with clients currently now, that the difference oftentimes comes down to again long term versus one short term, or specifics versus relationship. So again, coaching someone, again, you're trying to give an education, trying to teach them, enhance knowledge, a long term plan. So again, you're not as a coach. Or at least as I would think as a good coach, I'm more interested not in the immediacy. It's not just about winning the game. I want you to win the game of life more so than just, it's not, but again, unfortunately, some people who have that position think in those ways, that it's about wins and losses and that's about it. And everyone is essentially expendable when it comes to that planning. Again, guiding people. And this is something we'll see in some slides. It's not always about telling, um, what to think, but also how to think. What are the right thoughts? What are the right processes that you need to have? And then again, it's about relationships. You know, why Mike Tomlin still is a coach in the NFL, despite the fact that every year they want to have a fire Mike Tomlin chant everyone to a man. Certainly, the guys who play for him, they'll run through a wall for him because of again the relationships that he allows to be built. He allows them to be themselves. And when they talk about player coach, he's a he exemplifies that. Same thing with Tony Dungy. Was very similar. Didn't do a lot of yelling or cursing or whatever, but he was able to build relationships. But with trainers, I think our task is a little bit more specific. So again, gives education, but again, as a coach, you're trying to give the philosophy oftentimes, or the reason behind the game. I'm just as a trainer, I might be interested in a specific skill set. So I could be a strength coach. I need you to be stronger in certain aspects and specific things. I need your legs to be stronger. I need upper body strength, whatever it is. So I'm going to be focusing on very specific detail. I'm going to be, training you again. What I know, I want you to have that directly. Again, and I'm interested in the immediate. So again, you got to get ready for like a boxer. He's got to get ready for a fight. He may have a trainer or strength coach or what have you, because again, the idea is we need to get ready for this specific strategy for a fight. I may not even be interested in your long term health. When you turn 50 or whatever, no one's going to care. But again, you're 25 years old and you're an elite athlete. I need you to perform for the now. And then again, I'm not so much about trying to give you thought process. No, I'm giving you direct instruction. I'm giving you directives. I need you to do this in this way. I need 5 reps. I need 10 reps. You may not want to do those reps, but I'm going to push you to a specific task, hoping to get a specific outcome. And again, it's not going to be more so about, again, you may not even like me as a trainer or a coach. But again, my idea is to get you to a specific goal for a specific task. So training versus coaching, I can certainly see just from my leaning more on the training side and you on the coaching side. Um, I definitely see those distinctions between the two. Now, is there overlap? Always, but I definitely see this here as some distinctions. But what are your thoughts on the difference between coaching and training, or coaches and personal trainers, or strength trainers, or what have you?
At the end of the day, both interchangeable to me. That's how I've always approached coaching because because when you coach, you're also giving instructions. That's part of the designing of the plays. That's part of the running through the reps in practice. You're giving those instructions on where to look for certain little advantages on offense and certain little advantages other positions. So, and you have to show them. That's why if you saw plays, they actually design where you need to go to set that block up, and that's in the playbook.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I think they interchangeable.
Right.
Enhances knowledge. They maybe not, but I'm transfer the knowledge of how to play this position, even if it's from one grade level to the next, or I'm gonna show you how to go from offense to a defensive player. So to me, just in coaching sports and
Yeah.
long-term plan and short-term plan. Again, we got a game next week. I game that's
Hmm.
like, what I'm saying, especially as a unit. And long-term, yes, let's see if we can, go to the playoffs, or this plan that we've developed can continue on through the next 10 years of sports. It works.
Right.
So guys,
And also
guys.
just other aspects of your life. Not to cut you off, but again, I mean, the way I look at it, whether it be coaching or training, it's not. I'm not looking just at the immediate, because again, you may play this sport. Some people may play past, middle school, high school, college, or even pro. But I think both of us can certainly understand and relate the fact that we have played team in individual sports. That again, a lot of those lessons we still employ now. So again, so that long term, and again, as in some of the again, best coaches I know Tony Dungy said, and he got it from Chuck Noll. It's like football is just a sliver of your life, but you better be thinking about your life's work. This is just for the average life of an NFL player is 2.5 years. But what about the rest of your life? If all you are in football, but you don't have an education, you don't have a vocation, you don't have anything outside of this, then what are you going to do with yourself? So I can understand again, a good coach is obviously focused on the task at hand, but I would hope that a lot of the things that you may have learned in that process is going to help you in the long term. But if I'm just a trainer, I'm just there to get, I need to come, I need to put 10 pounds on you. If that's my job, what you do with that 10 from that point, if you want to strip it down after the season, or what have you, that's on you. But I certainly see that more distinction between focusing on a specific versus your long term. And we see even the athletes now that trainer will do anything to keep the athlete on the field of play. But then once they retire, whatever, you be seeing some of these guys 5 years after retirement, and they're like, they left it all on the field.
Yeah, I mean, but I always, and that's why I like coaching, because, like you said, and specifically, I love playing football because football and life is pretty much, identical with different. The nouns, verbs, and all of that are the same, but the journey is different.
Hmm.
And that's why I would always say that they're interchangeable.
Hmm.
Um, because I've had coaches that just give instruction and they don't get no result.
Hmm.
They don't, and they don't, going back to the motivation, they don't motivate the players to actually ready to participate.
Hmm.
I was surprised by myself, the age group. I realized that age group is too young for me
Hmm.
in girls, because I didn't take into account that they were first, coming into that what's that, the second stage of life, part two, or what's that, stage 1.5, when they come on their woman
Right.
side, and
Right.
it showed because when I stepped back, and it wasn't me, because other people would identify it to me like, I'm so sort of easygoing, and they would be like, these kids are disrespectful. I'm like, I understand, but that's the sign, and they was disrespectful to themselves,
Yeah.
So, and that's the sign of the young mind. That's why I still try to just give it my all and give it my best, even whether you coaching or training, because I've trained some people. I didn't make it, and I can definitely see, because see, Mr. Ben, I can see you just don't smile or nothing. You just in there ready to work. You like, man, let's get this workout in and let's go home.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very, because again, my sessions are pretty brief. But usually
Yeah,
I train people under 30 minutes.
see what I'm saying?
You
You
try
ain't
to
got.
keep chatter to a minimum, although it happens. I mean, again, I'm not so, hey, no talking about the train. I'm not so hard like that, but I'm here to do a goal. Now afterwards, now it's interesting. I become definitely much more of a coach after practice, because I got in my basement. It's called a crash couch.
Hmm.
And so after the workout, more times than not, you need to go over to that crash couch for about 20 minutes before you leave. In fact, if I see you in a certain state, I won't let you leave. The training's going to be, like I said, it's going to be very deliberate, very specific, done in a certain way. And the result I expect is there. You're going to be gassed from it. And so again, I'm not just going to say, okay, just go in your car and leave. Take a seat. Sometimes I may make you I would make guys protein shakes. And a lot of times the coaching would happen afterwards, when he's recovering, or he or she's recovering on the couch, and I got a chance to, we can get a little more personal. We can talk about what's going on. There can be more of a mentor in that specific situation at that point. But when it comes to the training, there's no music. I don't have music blaring. We gonna get this in 20 25 minutes or less, depending on the environment. Fast as I've ever trained a client is 12 minutes, because I was in a gym. All the equipment was so pre-set up. We could just go from station to station to station. If it's a home gym, sometimes you got to move things around, change weights, plates, and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But if I'm in a certain environment, usually on average about 20 25 minutes, and we get down, and I may try to give you a little something between sets, or whatever, as I'm setting up for the next exercise. But that's it. I'm like dominoes. I mean, 30 minutes less. But again, if you want to talk afterwards, I'll sit down with you, especially if I don't have. The only time I couldn't do is, like, I used to book if I had kind of like back to back. Like, it got to a point I was planning on a half hour, right? I was scheduled on a half hour, and I was like, well, that might be a little too much. So I backed it up to an hour. So again, we trained for 25, 30. I got 15 minutes to talk to you, and then I got another client coming in. So, so sometimes that, again, I certainly appreciate the idea that you can definitely switch between coaching and training. But I can certainly understand training being such where this is what we're doing. There's no thought process behind. But there is a thought process behind it that I'm be glad to talk to you before or after. But once we get these reps in, it's done in a particular fashion. So I certainly appreciate that. But even within the training, there are levels to it. So again, personal trainer, fitness coach, and gym instructors. Again, these things are certainly are right up my alley. Again, exercise performance and progression. I'm tracking. Every workout is timed. Every workout is tracked. Sets, reps, completed, goals, strength curves, all that. Session based, in person, one on one. I have done some online coaching, but I don't do online unless I do one on one. Unless I trained you to a point where you know my system to a T, where you can port it somewhere else and I can kind of coach you from the sideline. Then yeah, but initially I got to be one on one. So I know it's a lot of trainers. They have these online coaching business. When I don't do that unless I see you in person and work with you and kind of see where the weak points are, what I need to fix, or what we need to work on. It's always in person. And then again, scope of support, workout plans, again, physical progress. I would say that is certainly at base level is what I do in a nutshell. But again, a fitness coach, what we talked about earlier, long term. So again, and certainly I do some of that, in terms of diet, in terms of sleep, in terms of things that will help that person long term. A lot of that discussion though happens after the training, and then gym instructor again, safety, equip equipment assistance, reactive gym support, basic gym guidance, no personalization. So again, a gym coach, you run the gym class. I mean, guys I had back in when I was in school, some of these guys were ex-military, and we just do military drills or whatever. I mean, it's not, there was no specific trying to get a kid to be better in a particular thing. You were just trying to get people to a general state of fitness. You do your fit tests at the end of the year, and your gym grade was either pass or fail based on how you did on those fit tests at the end of the year. But every once in a while I may see one working 1-to-1, but generally you would had a gym class full of 100 kids. And so again, it's hard to kind of get that personalization to it. But this is kind of where I kind of find myself, certainly when it comes to that. But any thoughts on this, coach, before we go on?
I mean, just I've done some personal training, and maybe I'd say right out when I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
um, in the early 2000s. Once I went back to school, once I got out of the military, for a short period of time, I learned a lot within that. I learned more, and again, I'm big on technique, man. Just taking that time, but I'm a little more laid back.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm mentoring and counseling. I'm doing all that. People
Exactly.
tell
Yeah.
me their life story, but I'm still want to focus on the specifics of the task
Yeah.
and sort of balancing that out. And fitness coaches, man, I wouldn't. Yeah, I took aerobics class, man, because towards my senior year, I took it out of my required class, so I
Mhm.
took a role. I was like, yeah, I couldn't
That
be
was
a
back in the
fitness
day
coach.
when the ladies wore those leggings in class. You wearing those?
But no, man. Again, I did. I took good electives, man. I took this in Mississippi State,
Okay.
for an elective. I was like, nah, because I couldn't do that. And the gym instructor, it I took a coaching a basketball elective too, right?
Mhm.
And it just combined all of these right here,
Yeah. I hear you.
and that's one anything, So I know you more of a personal trainer, right?
Yeah.
And primary focus, style of engagement, scope of support. Which one do you think you um, probably had less engagement with?
Not sure. I'm not sure the question. I mean, all three, like the primary, the really, I'm looking more so at the row. So on the row, it's like I check all three boxes
Okay, that's it.
consistently. It's got to be all three of those. Like I said,
Okay,
session based, workout plans, progress. I mean, I'm tracking all those metrics. And again, the serendipities that may come from that can certainly lead to more coaching and long term life application, which I certainly use the physical space of the physical training in which to do. So, like I said, I can switch certainly between a trainer's role and a coach's role, but I definitely need to make sure that if the training isn't good, what I found, if the training isn't good, then the coaching won't be effective. I've also seen that over the years that unless you deliver results, very specific things, and they can see progress or whatnot, my coaching or whatever I'm trying to tell them, life lessons or whatever, it's not going to be as effective. I can, you can be like one of those motivational speakers or whatever, but if there's no, nothing to show for it, then again, my voice is going to become less impactful if I'm not delivering on that. So again, I kind of start with the how to, and then we can get into the whys and whatnot a little bit later on. But just to kind of further illuminate that again, coach versus trainer, the whole idea of, again, the specificity of training. Okay, so fitness professional involved in exercise prescription and instruction. So I'm going to teach you how to exercise, or at least how to weigh. I want you to the movement, and there's really no debate. It's kind of like, usually it's basically like people don't come to me and say, "Look, I prefer to train this way." More times, okay, we'll get another trainer. I mean, it's like anything else. I recognize I'm not necessarily for everybody. That's why I go through several sessions with someone before I would ever consider training them on the long term. It's like, if you can appreciate what we're doing, then we can continue. But I don't take too many ideas or suggestions from people, at least not from clients. Other trainers or other guys in the industry, certainly I'm always looking to educate myself and to be better. That's a peer sort of environment, but not from the client themselves. Because my thing is, you didn't hire me for that, and if you did know what to do, then you wouldn't need me. So that's kind of how I do it. Again, helping people reach their personal fitness targets, instructs people about health and lifestyle, and his role is more instructive. Whereas, so again, it's more instructive than a coach is, versus whereas a coach might not be as instructive than a trainer's. So again, it depends on the setting. Like, I think what I've seen in my just studying, just for this show tonight, that in certain segments, coaching is more about teaching you not what to think, it's teaching you how to think. It's looking at the game within the game. It's looking at the big picture versus the specifics of things, especially in depending on your position. Like, if you're a quarterback or if you're a point guard, that goes well beyond skill set. That you basically got to be the coach on the field. So you have to see the game differently from other players within the game, because again, it's a different mindset. So that's where I think coaching is really important, especially for those key positions, because it's not just how strong your arm is, or how good your handle is. You got to be able to read plays almost before the plays happen, and that's where I think a coach really tries to impart their philosophy in terms of how they want things done. And then you can go into other, you can go to, again, even more nuance. And this is what I found here. So you have coaches, you have coaches, trainers, and mentors. Now, the main aspect of a mentor versus a coach or a trainer, a coach or a trainer can basically apply to almost any situation, but a mentor needs to basically have walked in the path that you're on. If you really want to be a mentor, it's like, I've been where you've been. Here's how you got there. Here's how you get here. Whereas the other two, like I said, you, depending on your sport, like, I might not even play as a trainer. I might not even have played the sports that you're playing, but I know how the human physiology works, and I can get you ready for whatever endeavor you're on, strength training, distance, whatever the endeavor is. And likewise with a coach, you may not know specifically everything about the game, but certainly, again, your approach to people, how you bring the best out of the players and whatnot. So I've known guys who, coach multiple sports, and they might not have known all the details or nuance about the sport, but certainly their approach, how they get people's minds ready for whatever it is that they're doing, is paramount. But a mentor generally is somebody who's been like, they walk through the minefield and they can kind of get you through it. But your thoughts on this?
I mean, I've been a part of all three.
Yeah.
And I love the mentoring part of coaching. That's the one thing that I enjoy the most, because even going back to that last slide, man, you know, you'll get more of the individualism as adults through adult sports. You'll get all of the trainers, and you'll get all of the individual uh, people working with specific athletes, and and techniques and things like that. But on the lower grades, you are all of those things.
Yeah.
uh, just talking to players about getting some rest, eating proper meals. I ensure that players always have fruit. I always ask the parents to provide fruit, oranges, apples, general little basics, bananas, what young people like.
Mhm.
Even in high school, I always ask the athletic directors to have us some fruit or something, before games and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Give those electrolytes, pears, whatever. They usually always provide it. So,
Mhm.
and again, mentoring it's always opportunities, especially when you're in the schools, uh, and talking about life skills from again, not like you said, financial literacy, being able to break down math. You're doing math, and you still letting them know that they smart. I used to love have students come look at their GPA because they never a lot of them didn't know what it was. I sit them down. I let them know like you need this. They like, oh, I need to get that up. Yes. How do you get that up? Oh,
Mhm.
I got to come to school. I got to do my homework. Because
Mhm.
I know exactly what they lagging. What are you lagging in? Oh, I ain't doing my homework. Well, do the
Mhm.
homework.
Mhm.
3, 4 weeks later, they come in there bouncing. He, what's up, Miss Vixen? Hey, what's going on? And I already know what's up because I keep up with it. Every student, and they like, I got my grade up. What grade? I play dumb. I make them explain it to me because the more they talk about it, the better they feel about it, and the better they feel about it, the more they want to be that. And that's the greatest thing about being a mentor.
Yeah.
And and again, this it's just all of these things, man. Sometimes I used to have to show them how to do, correct push-ups on the spot. I got on my shirt and tie, and I bust it down. I get down and hit them
Yeah.
with the military style
Yeah.
push-ups. They looking at me like, "Oh, Mr. Ferguson, I wouldn't try you." I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I know we gonna, and I'm telling you, man, just seeing the information and just going back to the school today, it just gave me a whole thing. If my body hold up, man, I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
my body.
Mentoring is I think fun. It's probably the funnest because especially when you get with folks who are again younger and you talked about the push-ups, right? So so again, if it's like if me and you had to um if I'm more like a 17, 18-year old and like I said I'm 56 and just kind of getting down and just showing them how to do them or me and that kid is going to be in a push-up contest and more than like I'm going to outdo 90% of the of the body. It definitely does a lot to earn, I guess, the respect of because again, people like in life, people like people who walk it and talk it. And so not just because I've seen coaches that it's kind of hard to go to an overweight trainer. You know what I mean? If you're if you're obese and not in good shape, again, it doesn't mean that your information isn't right. It doesn't mean that you can't be a good trainer. It doesn't mean you can't be a good coach. But when you live the lifestyle, people, it's like it's what you say just has that much more weight to it when you can apply the principles that you're conveying. So I appreciate the mentor role in that. Yeah, I can show people, and I'm finding myself more of a mentor now because certainly as my daughters have gotten older, and when they talk about back in the day, it's like, Dad, you don't understand. And now I think they're to an age now where I can expose more of myself to them. And so it's like, yeah, I kind of do understand because I was there before. Like I wasn't just talking to give you that advice or that wisdom just because it sounded good. It's like this is what actually helped me to get over whatever it was that was helping me. And so just having that lived experience helps you so much in terms of getting people younger people to listen to you when you can go in there and do whatever it is. Even when I'm training clients now, I'm stronger. I haven't met a client yet that is stronger than me. So and that's not just a bragging thing or whatever, but it's and
Yes,
again, if you go back and look at my pictures, my college pictures, and you'd be like, yeah, I mean, this guy was nothing to write home about. I was that 98-pound weekend on the bench getting sand kicked in his face and being able to still perform it definitely helps a lot. But I like what they're saying here about the coaching um, aspect. And again, I know this may not always apply to sports coaching, at least not the head coach, because the head coach has so many different things he's got to be concerned about, and not to mention winning. But I like here how they break it down. Again, ask open questions enables self discovery, dispels false feelings and beliefs, and can be applied to any situation and is future focused. I like all five of those because, again, like I said earlier, it's not about necessarily telling you what to do or what to think, but how to think. So the idea is, it's like if I can help you come to the answers on things on your own versus just telling you what to do. Now, again, I've seen coaches who do both. We call the dictators, the Bobby Knights of the world, or whatever whatever you want to call it. And then again, you got the Tony Dungies of the world. They both have done well in their respective spaces, but but you do have those guys who are the taskmaster sort of person. But again, a lot of times does the person um, uh, teach you again how to think, and also dispelling false feelings. Like, coaches are supposed to build you up and say you have in you. I mean, and I love when you share these stories about working with these kids, that you were able to get them to start thinking differently about themselves. Not just just saying, hey, just do this or whatever and just kind of go away. I mean, but you're inspiring them and saying, hey, I can do this. I mean, I think coaches really can do a lot, especially for younger people when it comes to their progression and whatever it is that they're doing. So, but your thoughts on that? But I really liked how they broke that down, and I think a coach is certainly indispensable in those ways. Although not every coach that I know, even ones that I've had, because I got some coaches, they've had some very colorful things that they've had to say to all of us. But certainly, um, but yeah. So your thoughts on that breakdown for the coaching on this particular slide?
I mean, I agree with all of them except the first one.
Mm,
Again, it depends on what form of coaching,
mhm,
because as a coach, you ask questions, but you're looking for specific results. So you
mhm.
just like you know what I'm saying, just like answering a question in school. Even in
Yeah.
your motion, if I asked you where do you go at, what is your position when you go through the the what's that? So defense through the B gap
Mhm,
on this play, what hole do you go through in the B? When you're in the B gap, and you
mhm,
have and it's not like, well, no, you post. I'm going right. I'm shooting the C gap. It has to be specific,
mhm.
especially when it comes to sports. But again, everything else, yeah, self discovery. Also, eliminate self defeat.
Mhm.
Eliminate mistakers' feet. Just because you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. That's just part of the game.
Right.
That's just part of life. You're gonna make mistakes, but don't stay stuck in the mistake.
Right.
So, and what is it? Yeah, in any situation. That's why, I love sports, and how you look at it through life, it just always went hand in hand to me. In future, you believe you're going to win, just like you believe you're going to have a positive result, even
Right.
if I'm taking a test, an exam.
Right. Right.
Sometimes you just have to think it in your head and learn in the moment. So, yeah,
Right.
I always like it.
Gotcha. I would probably, the only thing I would probably disagree with you on, I think if you don't start with one, you can't get to two. The idea of I have to. So again, in that scenario you say with the player, I'm gonna ask the player, what was your thought process? Like, why did you go here instead of going here? What was going on in your mind that made you take that course of action? And I want him or her to explain to me what was the thought process there. Because then once I know the thought process, then we can start breaking down a better way to how to think about the play before you actually execute the play. So, like I said, I don't mind it. And again, I think with certain positions, I think you have to. Like I said, a quarterback, I think you got to ask the player, what did you see there? Because again, I can coach from the sideline, but you got you right over the center. What did you see there on that play that made you throw that pass there? And then let him explain it to you. And then you might be able to pick up where the weaknesses are, or they spending too much time looking in the here, they're telegraphing or whatever. They're not going through the progressions the way they need to, and they're reacting versus thinking about the play. Because again, in that position, you have to process so many different things at once. So again, if you're a quarterback, like I said, a point guard, again, why did you go over there with that player? Why did you decide to lob it in there or whatever? What was the thing, there? So I think there's certain I think it's a tool to ask open-ended to help, see what's going on so you can fix the source of the problem and not just to implement the play. But that's just me.
So, but what you're saying is correct, and what I'm saying is correct because you never played on my team. You don't know my plays. So I have to teach you to play, and then once you learn it, you go through the execution of it, and then you can do exactly what you said. Hey, what happened? What did you read? What did you see? Did you see the defense coming? Did you see the safety? Especially in football, did you see the double team? Did you see the back cut? In basketball, even in baseball, did you see the runner thinking he was going to steal base?
Right.
And that's what I'm speaking from. We starting ground zero. Everybody's coming out trying to make the team. This is what we're doing. This is how you're going to do it.
Right.
And then when you get into formations and start doing it, now you're looking at what you just said. Hey, what happened? Did you see? And then that's just, again, they always going to be interchangeable. But it's the same thing. It's just I'm starting practice. You already in practice.
Yeah. I got one more perspective to share on this. And again, this is kind of like a part one. We're definitely going to get into more specifics, especially when it comes to player coaching, certainly in the next show. But I just wanted to kind of cover some of this because I thought it was instructional. Here's another perspective on some of the differences between the different types of interactions. So you have from this person, Janie Coombs. She's a I think like a business or life coach, and she kind of broke it down here. So she has two different aspects in terms of one-to-one or one-to-many when it comes to the interaction that you have, and then again the inputs that you get from the clients that you may be working with. So again, this, I don't think it applies as much to the sports world, but I thought it was general enough to kind of have a discussion on. So you have mentoring, coaching, training, and consulting. And generally speaking, the way she breaks it down is training can be to a mini situation. So like, you can train a class in an academic setting, right? Or you can have a group class or a gym class or what have you. So again, I think in non-physical things that don't require a lot of high touch or physicality, I can certainly see how she would label training as mostly a one-to-many situation. Like I said, the classroom, for example, or the teaching space where you can have maybe 400 students in your class. That kind of makes can certainly make sense there. And again, the role of the teacher or the trainer in that situation is to give you prescriptive advice, like this is what it is, less about what necessarily what you need to be doing, what your thought process is. So again, lower client input, meaning I'm here to teach you how to do this. I'm trying to teach you how to build PowerPoint spreadsheets. I'm trying to teach you English 101 or mathematics or whatever it is, in this, or specific techniques how to do something. Mentoring has this aspect as well, because even though mentoring can certainly go to one-on-one or group setting, The idea is still is based on my experience in this endeavor, which I'm assuming you want to go into the same endeavor. A lot of my advice is going to be prescriptive and saying, if you do what I did, you can have what I have. And so, in this capacity, if you take it out of the sports world, training has, a one to many capacity. Mentoring can be a one to one or one to many, but both sides of that are prescriptive. Do what I say in this capacity. Whereas coaching, the way to define it here, again, the idea of really teaching people how to think versus or coming up with their own solutions versus just telling them what to do. How to be an independent thinker by having the right thoughts, by having the right views, by having the right attitudes. It's mostly one on one. Again, in a non sports world, obviously, it's coaching a team. You can't do that. And then consulting, again, very similar to coaching. It can have a one on one aspect, or it can have a one to many aspect. But again, the idea is not to necessarily give you prescriptive advice, but non prescriptive advice. Again, show you how to think, how to problem solve, give you some keys, but you're the one who's going to come to the decision on your own. Similar to me, this will almost be like therapy session, right? You go to therapy. Again, the therapist isn't necessarily trying to teach you what to think, but they're trying to get, again, unravel some things based on what you tell them. So tell me about that situation or what have you, and how did you get around it or whatever, to try to come to a set of solutions or help you come to a set of solutions that you can buy into. A trainer in this situation might be like, look, you can try something else if you want to, but if this is how we do X, Y, and Z. So again, if you took it out of sports, this to me makes sense. But sports, it almost flips these things on their ear. It's almost like an opposite application. But certainly I can appreciate in a non-sports, in the business world, in a corporate world, I can certainly see in this being more applicable in that setting. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, like the more I see it, the more it's starting to intertwine even more.
Mhm.
Except the consulting now, again, you can consult one person in business. You can consult many different
That's right.
entities in business. So I think the language, again, some is going to be mentoring to me. It's hard to be prescriptive. It is mentoring because sometimes you have to allow them to do both, work through the issue and come up, you know what I'm saying? But also you have to sort of get them to be more direct in solving it.
Hmm.
So yeah, again, man, training. Like I said, I have one stint in training, but again, is training just tied to physical? Could it be tied to mental?
Oh, for sure. But
See,
even then, it's going to be the key here, whether it's physical or mental, is prescriptive. It's going to be like you do these things. It's instructional. You do step one, step two, step three, step four. And again, and you wait for a result to manifest itself. Again, you may not like to train. Like I said, we may never have a relationship. You've had professors in college. How many professors in college did you maintain a relationship with after your class was over? Let alone your college careers. I'm not saying that obviously there's still teachers and professors that I may have had that I had a lot of affinity for, but that took place more times than not outside the classroom. But I'm just here to get my A or B or whatever I can get out of this class, and then I'm going to matriculate to the next level and keep it moving. So it's not always that again I'm not going to have necessarily the relationships being a trainer, depending again on the environment. Now, but like I said, in my personal training business, yeah, I mean, the reason why people have come to me for years is because part of this is developing a relationship. You know what I'm saying? It's like you go to certain people for any kind of services, your barber. I mean, we don't need it, but or beautician or what have you. It goes beyond just the fact, yeah, they do my hair well. It's also the relationship, the soft skills that oftentimes keep people going back. The stories that are being told and shared, and relation. Some people you just vibe with better. So I can certainly see that there. But again, training, like I said, I can certainly appreciate the idea of we're going to do A, B, and C. And I really don't care how you think about it. Obviously, I'm going to be concerned about your safety and your care. Those things are going to be important. But it's not for me to say, hey, can I do it this way? I'm like, no, you can't do it. Now, again, if you have an injury, if you have something that would prevent you from doing what I'm instructing them, of course, I have to take that into consideration. But because you don't feel like doing it that day, it doesn't really matter. Or if you don't do it that way, then again, we don't need to be we don't need to be together. So, like I said, I can appreciate that aspect. But coaching, certainly coaching can be one-on-one, which is, like I said, if you take it out of a sports setting, I can certainly understand it being one-on-one. But again, you're coaching a sports team, you're going to have 53 players or 12 players, or whatever the sport dictates in terms of number of players, 22 players. So I can understand that it's different in the sporting world, but I can certainly understand how this matrix is kind of laying it out. But any further thoughts on this before I go on to the last? And again, I'm just kind of setting up because I don't want to go too long tonight, but I just want to kind of set up for the future shows, and we'll get more into, again, working with especially with players or with clients, motivating, and how we can certainly help these people out. But anything else you want to say on this before I move on to the last?
Nah, man. Just again, man. Even just looking at it and going over this information, man. Again, it's just giving me, more inspiration, man. So if the next time I
Well,
engage with
good. I'm
some
glad.
young people, what
I'm
I'm saying,
glad.
I can re I can revigorate my message, and try to reach them as open minded as possible regarding whatever topic, subject, sport, whatever I'm tasked with doing in the moment. So
Gotcha. Let's focus a little bit more on, because we talked about more so on the coaching. But again, what is all this for? Mentoring, training, coaching, consulting, whatever you want to call yourself, whatever intersections between the four that we're talking about. What is this all for? And it gets down to, again, not every coach thinks this way, but ultimately it gets down to the players. I mean, this is a relationship again. Again, there's professional settings where, again, some organizations, it's not about the play. Players are expendable bodies, and you either get the ones who want to play on the team, or who are going to really buy in. And the ones who can't buy in or can't keep up, you kind of get rid of them. And I know, being coach, one thing we definitely have a difference of view on is when it comes to discipline. My thing is, if a kid is acting up in class, or the grades aren't there, or whatever, you're not playing. In my view. But I think, coach, you take an opposite view to that, not using the play or lack of play as a discipline, but you have a different approach to that. And if you want to expound on that, you can. And then we can kind of get into this area here in terms of, using this as a tool, and depending on what your coaching methodology is, to use these things that what a player wants to advantage. Again, we're not going to get into it in this show. We're going to lead with this in the next show. But Coach, I want to get, if you want to talk about that a little bit, your approach to discipline and playing time and things like that. Because I think when we had a show talking about the different travel team and school sports and things like that, I think that's probably the biggest difference that we had. But if you want to talk about that, we can, and then we'll just go over this real quick, and then we'll close out the show and pick up where we left off.
Yeah, I'm I'm a parent also. Now I take that viewpoint also when I look at coaching. So if I have a player and it's going back to what we've been talking about, I would just say ninth grade because pretty much ninth grade they truly understand who they are.
Mm,
There's a lot of players that come out for high school sports that may not be AB students.
mhm,
They and I'll say this: a lot of them come out of middle school
mhm,
with barely achieved the pass. They may pass with all D's,
mhm,
a couple of L's and D's, but they come to high school, right?
mhm,
So knowing that, and most, when football start, there hasn't been a grade yet come out, right?
mhm.
And knowing that it's bigger than the coach.
Mhm.
It's bigger than the coach. Me now, as long as they come to the team and they are learning and being respectful, they're going to classes, they're not getting in trouble in the school, they're not in the principal's office, they're not doing those behavior things.
Mhm.
Academically, it can improve with continued learning of the skill of the sport. And now, but especially in school level, when you're not going to class and you're participating in the deviant behavior, as they would call it in education,
Mhm.
then yes, you will not be a part of the participation of the team.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were making like a blanket kick because that was my thing. It's the grades. I agree with you. It's not so much about the grades per se,
Yes,
but it's the attitude. So
yes,
again, talking back to teachers or sassing or getting into
yes,
fights, like you said, getting into the principal's office,
yeah, yeah,
disrespecting your mother, just certain things that certainly in my view wouldn't warrant any kind of participation time.
no,
That if you can't get those things together. Now, again, some would say, look, if you keep them in, they'll develop, they'll grow out of that because again, you give them something that they want more so, they want to play more so than those things, or they don't want to be defined by those things. And so you'll give them that grace. Now, again, sometimes it becomes exploitive because and we both know if you that kind of athlete, coaches will tolerate a bunch of stuff. If you can help them win, then yeah, certain things get swept under the rug or whatever, and certainly some of that behavior is continues to be encouraged. But my thing has always been, but again, you have to at least be showing me some effort. No one's saying you got to be an A student, although some programs was. I mean, I think Bobby Knight was like, look, you can't be having C's in class. I mean, again, he was very strict in terms of what the type of player that he recruited, as well as the level of expectation that he required in a player. And again, you can play for programs like Harvard and Princeton. They're not going to have C students there. I mean, it's not, it's not that kind of place. Now, you may not be getting the best player, but for some of these elite players, yeah, I agree with you that they're not always meant to be, or they're going to be the brightest of the bunch when it comes to academic wise. But my thing is more so behavioral, you know. And some would but still argue that, even behavioral issues, if you take them out of sports, then what are they going to become? It's just going to spiral out of control or whatever. But I think you have to have your limits. And you can even have the parent, and I understand too where parents sometimes get frustrated, with their child or whatnot, and sports is the only thing that gets them to halfway listen to what's going on. But certainly, again, I appreciate that there's different philosophies there. But let's talk about again what players want. And again, it's going to be it could be one or several of these things. Again, obviously wanting to play. Now, again, and I think that was another thing I said. Now I remember specifically what I was addressing when we were talking about a coach. If somebody doesn't want to be there, I would kick them off. that's just me. The parents want them in the sport. They're not listening. They're just, I'm talking and they got elsewhere. They're just in another world. Do you want to be here or not? I don't care, your skill set or your lack of athleticism. I'll work the best I can on that as long as you're trying. But if you don't want to be there, I'm like that in life in general. If anybody doesn't want to be in a certain situation, I don't want to be there either. I believe that if you're going to be a participant, be an all-in participant. And so that's just a thing with me. It's like if I commit myself to something, I like being around people who want to be committed to the same thing, not the same level, but at least do you want to be there? And that just gets in my craw when I have to deal with people in anything. That and it shows in the action, because then what happens is you wind up doing all the work.
Yeah, but
because
Brother
that
Bennett,
person didn't want to be there.
but I mean, from an adult perspective, yes, I can understand 100%. But from a child's perspective, right? Let's just say some parents live through their kids, right? They want their kids to be the Michael Jordan, not a Kobe Bryant, not a Nick, right?
Mhm.
Okay. However, that's where that's where ethics and sort of, I guess, mentoring and things come into play, because a lot of kids rebel and a lot of kids are not good at all,
Mhm.
but their parents want them to be there, right? And on a lower level, you can't just kick them off because they're not living up to your standard.
Mhm.
But like, say, going into high school and definitely in college, once they realize that they don't want to be there, 9 times out of 10, they'll quit. They'll just stop showing up,
Mhm.
right? And this is where I love about it, because if they showing up to practice, they want to play. But those other things outside of football must be 100%. I'll say this, must be at 75%.
Okay.
You have to be because they still dealing with emotions. They dealing with home life. They dealing with education. They dealing with girls, boy. They dealing with a lot, right? So I just sort of say, hey, you must be at 75, 80%, because to step on the field, you cannot be a failure. You must be a passing grade according to this. I've always looked at what it's a C. Some schools have high standards, say C, but if they got D's, you can play.
Mhm.
Some schools you can't have more than 3 D's, then you get suspended for the week, and then you can get your grade up, and then you can come back. A lot of coaches, they, like you said, they got that LeBron James, they got that Marshall Faulk. Go ahead. But even outside of the major schools, a lot of schools, most players, had to have a passing grade. And the players that couldn't cut the grade,
Mhm.
you couldn't play, especially on the college level. You're not getting a C average, 2.5 GPA, then you lose scholarship, you get suspended. That applies whether you playing sports or not. If you don't get that 2.0,
Mhm.
then hey.
So I
So
guess then what comes first in terms of, again, what players want, the motivation. Again, if they want to play, unless there's an issue, if there's they need a tutor or they're dyslexic, whatever it is, if you want to play, then I would think you'd want that 2.5. So again, if you say you want to play, if those are the criteria, 2.5, and you're not giving me that, do you
mhm.
really want to play? How important is it to you to play? And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. So it's going to show up there. Now you said if the kid shows up to practice, he wants to play. I'm going to see what your effort is. If we run in drills, the dozens, the at the end of practice or whatever, if I see you jogging, I'm gonna get on you. But if I don't see an improvement, he must not want to play.
No, coach, I'm
Especially if you're
coming.
not, especially, look, if you 300 pounds, 350 or whatever, I get it. You ain't gonna keep up with everybody. I get that. But I'm just saying, but what you've seen enough to know when a kid is just lollygagging.
Coach, I just want to be on the team. I just want to be on the team.
That's fine. And I was that dude. I know exactly what that is. I was that dude. I had very little athletic ability, but nobody would ever say I did not try. I was Rudy on that team. I didn't know to add 2 left feet. I did it, but I tried. I was one of the first 2 practice. I stayed after practice. Again, I didn't play any organized sports until I was 14 years old.
I got you.
So I'm saying I know I'm like I said I'll take that. Give me the guy who doesn't know his left from his right.
but this is the best effort I can get, Coach. This is all
Yeah,
I got.
and I'll take it. I will
But
take that. But we
but
know guys who have ability, and what we always say, ability. The best ability is not only availability, but again, they say what they call talent is. I forget the term that they use. They talk about talent. A lot of guys who are talented, but they won't apply themselves. And those guys, you can see, we've been around enough. I know a client when he comes, if he's kind of going through the motions or whatever, I stop the workouts. I'll be like, hang on, man, what's going on? You okay? Now, this is where my coach comes in. This is where my mentor comes in. I don't scold him. I don't say, what's wrong with you? I don't say that. I say, what's going on? You okay? You talk? Like, yeah, I broke up with my girlfriend. Or I lost my job, but I didn't want to not come. But it's affects me. I understand. Let's talk about it. Look, let's go over to the crash couch. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. I'm not going to shame him. But I have to know that you are, I can't, again, the way my mentality is, I got to know that you're all in. I don't need you to be perfect, but I do need you to be present. And that is something that's just one of those things with me. If you're not present, there's very little I can do with you, so I'll try my best to get to the bottom of it. But if that's persistent, then you don't need to be here. That's just me. But again, I get it. Not everyone buys into that philosophy. But again, wanting to play is big. Know know their name, recognition, fun, pleasing their parents, education, competition, exercise, conditioning, friends. One definitely positive motivation, achievement, recognition, dominance, physical challenge, respect, safe place to play, get away from home, winning. These are all things that one or more can apply to any person. As a coach, I would want to kind of understand where every person's coming from. So hopefully I could then develop a strategy in terms of how to properly motivate and coach them. What are their hot buttons are. Now, some guys don't care about any of this. You're on this team. I don't care if you want to be here or not. I don't care if you want friends or not. I'm not here to be friends. I'm here to win. Some coaches are just so driven. Again, it's not even about the players because they will even put their players' physical health at risk. Make a player try to play when he can't play, when he's injured. Certainly not trying to build people up. You guys are all trash, cursing out the team. At the end of the day, all kinds of things I've seen in coaching. So they try to break you down physically, they break you down mentally, and so again, some coaches don't care about this. But if you are trying to be a coach, understanding that if a person fits into these categories, one or more of these categories, and you take the time to learn what that is, then I think that can do a lot to help you be an effective coach and a motivator for these kids. Some coaches coach out of fear. But I think a true coach is interested in your long term, and fear only works in the short term for short term effort. But I think long term coaching, this is a tool. So again, so I want to continue this conversation. I want to start next week with this slide, and then Coach and I, we can have an open and honest about how we use this kind of information to hopefully to inspire and to get kids to start thinking and acting in more positive ways that produce benefit for them down the line. But your thoughts on this, Coach? I think certainly we can land this plane for today. Great discussion. But yeah, however you want to wrap this up or finalize this, and then we can get out of here.
No, I think that's a good place to stop. Just looking at this again, man. Just it just took me down memory lane of when I started. My ups and downs of coaching, the learning new players every year, learning new personalities and things like that. And some players come in with this list already filled in them. Some players come in, they got 2 or 3 of these points, and the rest is teaching and learning and directing and inspire. It's everything, man. So nah, man. I think I told who did I tell? I told my wife. I told some kids. I told somebody. I said, man, they're gonna have to probably drag me off the court on a gurney or something. I said, I'll probably do this for the rest of my life, man.
Yeah, if it's
Because
in you,
it
it's
gives
in
me
you.
a purpose. It gives me drive. It gives
Mhm.
me, I'm not worrying about the money. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy, being a retired worker, but still being able to, touch somebody's life outside of my own. And yeah, so we'll see, man. If my body hold up, man, I'll be okay. If I don't, man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
So are you
sad.
limited? So based on so to wrap up, are you limited in? I know you have the L's, but what are they prescribing like physical therapy
Man,
or
I got
getting into the
physical
gym?
therapy again. I had
Mhm.
a EMG where they can't shock your arm,
Yeah.
and but that was I had an MRI and that the same day,
Okay.
and I knew it. My doctor told me I had it months ago, but just getting an appointment because I delayed it during the season. I could have had it in like October, but I delayed it to December, which I already knew because I've been having the strains in my neck and back.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man. So long as my body hold up, man. I'm not that big. I never been a weighty guy.
Mhm.
I'm probably say this. I probably the weight I am when I had surgery, about 236. You
That's pretty
know,
big, man. If I were you 5'9"?
yeah, about 5'9.5" last time I weighed, but yeah, but
So I'm
yeah,
6 inches taller than you in the same weight. So I'm just
yeah,
saying,
you know what I'm
you
saying.
pretty, you
And
pretty,
and my stomach is I don't have no no.
you ain't got the
I,
six
I
pack.
got one pack. If I could, I could get on. See, and this is what I can't just do exercise without permission.
Mhm.
So I have to
For sure.
see. I'm trying to. I don't do a lot during the day.
Mhm.
I can't do a lot of exercise,
Mhm.
but but I'm trying. I try to stay as. I don't know, man. Sometimes I just like,
Well, it's
man.
like it's a catch-22, right? I mean, it's like your body is kind of breaking down a little bit. Physical training can certainly help that, but you can only do so much where you don't want the physical training to become detrimental at the same time. But if you do nothing, then the body's just going to keep doing what it's doing. So I get that in terms of trying to again, you want to stay, sort of in the game per se, but you don't want to overexert or hurt yourself further than where you're at. So finding that balance again is something that hopefully you'll be working on over the next few months, and to stay relevant. But like I said, for me, that's one of the reasons why again I don't give myself too many breaks. On occasion I'll give myself like a week. I think 3 weeks ago I gave myself 2 weeks off because I was like really burning the candle at both ends, and my body was feeling it, and my body was like, shut it down, shut it down. So I listened to my body and to an extent. But I really as soon as I can, I get back on it, and my body feels it. Like my body kind of tells, okay, I'm ready to train now. So let's get into this. Let's get into this thing. And so certainly, hopefully, if you need any advices from me, I mean, anywhere I can help, you can always find me. I'll always be here for you. So, so let me know if I can be of any assistance in helping you craft something that you can do that can be impactful. It'd be my pleasure to do so. But again, we're coming to the end of the show. Just want to remind everybody again, our email address. You can certainly submit questions here, and any questions that we can ask, that you can ask and answer, and we can answer. You can submit, again, NXT GEN training, Next Gen Training 101 at gmail.com. Submit your questions here, and we can certainly make your questions part of the show, and and have further engagement, because we want to engage certainly with you guys. And but we appreciate you being here. But Coach, your final thoughts before we get out of here tonight. And I want to see the end of this game. This game, Mississippi and Ole Miss and
Yes, sir.
Miami's been going back and forth, man. So again, it could be down to who gets the last. I want to catch
Down
that.
to the end, man. But no, man, listen, man, salute, man. Great show, man. And hey, man, let's 2026, man. Salute to your family, man, for sure, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, and for the coach, this is again Next Gen Training on the Sparta HQ Network. We appreciate Sparta, Peter, for certainly giving us the this platform so that we can share certainly with you guys, and just continue to contribute to these spaces in positive ways, giving you uplifting information that you can take and drive with. So again, make sure not only you like the show before you leave, but also share the link. Share the link with some people who could benefit from what we're saying. We're just two bald opinions here, giving our views on life and how to do things. Supermarket approach, you take it or leave it. But certainly we want to be of use while we still have our faculties. And, so we look forward to, giving you good content that you can take and run with. So for myself, Mr. Bennett, and for the coach, this is Next Gen Training. For all of you, enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. God bless. And we will see you next time. Good night.